It's time. It's time for Pucknology. Pucknology. After dark. After dark. Oh my.
Oh my, indeed. Thank you, Rocket Backhander, for that wonderful introduction. Much appreciated. Welcome to Technology After Dark. Following a Sharks 5-0 victory over the Washington Capitals, alongside AJ Strong and Eric Landy. We hope you've been having a wonderful night. To be a part of the show, here's what you need to do. Landy, throw the graphic up.
Yeah, we gotta pull up the graphic.
And maybe. Anyone? There we go. All right. Use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark. You can use it to ask questions or comment about the show or tonight's game. By all means, get into that. You can follow all of us on Twitter. Yes, there's a lot of Twitter handles now, folks.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense because the camera's still focused on you, not the graphic.
What?
Oh.
There you go.
There we go. Attaboy, Landy. Keep it there. All right. At Pucknology, at PuckGuy14, at AJ_Strong, at JAlexander46, at ChrisJWS, at Eric Landy, at IReadPucknology, and at SJSharkBite. All right. That out of the way. Whoa. 5-0. Jones is looking like the real deal now. Landy, you could take the graphic down. And
Oh, for Pete's sakes.
hey, he's learning. He's figured out the chat. So for the sake of everybody else, that's why he's running the thing, because otherwise I'd probably F it up. Anyways, let's talk about this game. The Sharks win on their first game of their Eastern Swing road trip, 5-0 over the Washington Capitals. Martin Jones strong again with another stellar shutout performance, his second of the season, second straight, and he is closing in on a Sharks franchise record for longest streak without letting a goal in. AJ, let's start with you. Your thoughts? 5-0 Sharks.
Start with Landy. I'm busy.
Landy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, they looked really awesome. Again, we saw a very strong start. Lots of pressure in the back half of the first period. Seemed to kind of wane down a little bit after that third goal. Kind of everything kind of slogged down a little bit. You could see them. I don't know if it was so much as the Sharks letting their foot off the gas, or if it was just the Capitals kind of naturally coming back, and playing a little bit better. I think it was maybe a little bit of a combination of the both. But they hung in there, and their defensive system seemed to do pretty well.
Yeah, they've been really hanging on and been playing supporting. One of the things I noticed, I think, was in the second period, Bernsey breaking up a 3-on-1 by himself. He used to be one of those defensive guys that weren't exactly the greatest in the world, and he breaks up a 3-on-1, bailing out his goalie and everything. AJ, good evening to you, sir. Your thoughts on the Sharks' third straight victory?
Oh, well, of course I love it. We got 178 straight minutes of shutout hockey. What's not to like about that? I think we don't really have to worry about Jonesy getting the start in New Jersey on Friday. I think that's gonna happen. For me, the quick notes that I had, the first period, I thought the Sharks looked confused early on, like really early on, first couple of, or like say the first 8 minutes a couple times. That you had Jumbo giving up just an open look right in front of the net. Thank God Jones came up with a massive save, because Jumbo just gave it up. There was nobody around.
Oh my gosh, that was awful.
Yeah, but you had tons of crashing on the power play, lots of good looks on those early power plays. Granted, they only went 1 for 5 tonight, but if you're clicking at 20% on the power play, that's pretty decent, especially to start the season, and especially when your PK at this point is perfecto. Over three games, 11 penalties given, 11 kills. So the PK is perfecto. And then when you look at the first goal that we had, you had initially given to Burns, but Burns gets that shut off, and when you see that shot there, what's in front of the net? Thornton's jumbo ass right in front of Holtby's face. Couture following it up. Jumbo's so close, Holtby could, see the serial number on Jumbo's DVDs. I mean, it was just right in there.
And it was layered too, right? So not only was it Jumbo like parked right dab in front of the goaltender Holtby, but it was also Couture who was also in his line of sight. Whereas before we would see it layered, but we'd see him off to the side.
Yeah, exactly. But you look at that, and like I said, I felt like the Sharks were a little confused early, but then they settled down, and you had you had the Sharks drawing 3 power plays in the first period. At the end of one, they had outshot the Caps 17-8. Those are my first period notes. Aside from anybody else think they might catch a scotch of vertigo when Verizon Center's Skycam was going? I mean,
oh my gosh,
there was a couple times you just go, okay, why did they get it to look so good, like on football, and it looks so good at Vancouver? But yeah, that was a little weird. Anyway, just to finish it off. The Sharks, they opened the second period 5-1. They had 5 shots in the first 2.5 minutes. The Sharks had 25 shots on goal when there was still 12 minutes. We hadn't even gotten halfway through the game. They already had 25 shots on goal. Mm-hmm. Hello, Brownie getting a tally? Really? Okay. Are you serious? But let's be honest, that was off of a great drive by Chris Tierney. But, Brownie getting a score, which, something that we could get into. But does that mean that Ben Smith's riding the pine for yet another game? I'm surprised he hasn't gotten in yet. Hurdle scores on a great tap. He crashed in for a rebound. That was awesome. And it felt like as the game went on, just the Sharks looked more relaxed. They looked more confident. They see that 31 in there, and they know that it says Jones on the back of the shirt, not Niemi. You know what I mean? And then the best part is you have Washington getting a goal off of an incredibly fluky bounce that Dylan got he got caught up in his skates. So what does DeBoer do? He throws out the Sharks' first ever challenge and wins. Now, I think that, I'm going to ask the both of you, mm-hmm. but I would go on to say that if I'm a Washington fan, I'm pissed off about that. If I'm a Sharks fan and that's the other way, I'm pissed off about that. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a really marginal call. Granted, as Landy had pointed out on Twitter earlier, it is by the book, but still, I think it's that whole thing of, well, we got to let them play a little bit. But I thought it was marginal. What did you think, Puck Guy?
I thought it was a little iffy on it. In fact, I even tweeted out that there's no way that they're gonna allow that to go. I mean, yeah, he was in front of the net, but how much longer do you have to, or how much room can you give the goaltender? It's almost like you have to, like that 5-yard halo in football to let them see a fair catch. You do that, then you're just gonna make the goaltending a lot more stronger, because nobody's gonna run in. You're trying to block him. I mean,
well, it's like we're going back. It's like we're going back to the foot in the crease rule.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Landy.
Yeah, no, I think that had it been reversed, had we looked at that, we would have said, man, that
would have been the Sharks get screwed again on goalie interference.
Yeah, and so my heart goes out to the Caps, because I thought that was a good goal. You like I said, you did see Beagle go in and hit Holtby's arm, his glove save, but it was a blocker side shot, so it wasn't like he was going to go out and extend his glove on his offside. You saw him maybe push off his skates a little bit, but again, it was so marginal, it was so ticky-tacky that, had that been Carey Price and he would have flopped over, they would have given that to him because it's Carey Price and he would have flopped over. But Um, for us to see that, and it doesn't set a good precedent, because if I'd want the Sharks to play hard in the crease, and I'd want them to kind of get in the goalie's head a little bit too. Yeah, so I just don't, going forward, I don't like that. That's the precedent now.
Yeah, and I even on my when I saw that DeBoer was calling for the challenge, the first thing I tweeted out, no way DeBoer wins this challenge. and then 2 minutes later, I had to send out the exact same tweet with the proper punctuation, and that was, no way, DeBoer wins his first challenge.
Of course, but I mean that just seems like such a ticky-tacky call.
Well, even Puck Daddy put out an article saying he thought it was BS.
Yeah, I mean, if we're, like I said, if you guys are gonna call that, then Tommy Wingles is gonna double his goalie interference no goals.
Yeah, that's where I went exactly. It's just like, if that's what it's gonna be, then geez, goal scoring is gonna be down in the NHL across the board.
Big time.
Well,
Big time.
let me finish off my notes here, and feel free to interject. So, Burns have a game. We got Burns with the what almost was the first goal. Obviously, it did go in off Thornton, but he has that big shot to start things off. He breaks up a 3-on-1, then he breaks up another play later, and he goes to the box 3 times today. So he was all over the score sheet. And after 2, the Sharks are up 3-0. They've outshot the Caps 27-20, so they have let Washington creep back a little bit on the on the shot clock, but and there were a couple more chances, but I still felt like the Sharks hadn't gone into their normal Todd McClellan defensive shell. I felt like they were still trying to push the pace, and they weren't just leaning completely back. And going into the third, that was the whole thing. Keep your foot on the gas. Keep your foot on. It's that mantra we've heard so often. And then we have Chimera going into the net like Chase Utley sliding into second base, and then turning around and going full-blown douchebag, throwing elbows at the Sharks bench.
And throwing a slash on Thornton, which he only got 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike conduct. I was a little surprised by that. So.
As was I. If you're, it's just like the Lucic thing. If you're gonna go full-blown douchebag, you have to have a bigger penalty. If you're gonna skate across the ice to try to elbow somebody or hit somebody because they got the better of you one time on a clean hit. I mean, you see crap like that. It's just lame for the game. It's stupid. If you're gonna get some hits and you're gonna take some hits, just deal with it when you get them and whatever. So anyway, the Sharks kind of rested on the lead a little bit in the third period. I felt like we saw the third and fourth line guys a little bit more, which is to be expected in a game like this, especially one that was getting quite chippy, midway through the third. But the thing, and then of course we get the empty net tallies from Nieto and Tierney. Although at one point, when you see Trotz pull the goalie with 5 minutes left, which thanks Patrick Waugh for that. Good looking out. Glad you started that. But when they pulled the goal, just as they started to get the 6-on-5 going, Nieto snaps his stick. Not only does he break the stick, but then he actually ends up screening one of his own guys on the team when he should have been getting his ass back to the bench to grab another stick, because you're in that situation, you're closer to your bench at that point. You can't just be running around with your head cut off without a stick. That's one of the things that drives me nuts when you see guys like that. Yeah, this is not going to be the squad that we saw kill that unbelievable 5-on-3 where you had, what was it, 5-on-1 essentially, because we had 2 Sharks without a stick. But anyway, we get the 2 empty net tallies. But my question, the thing that popped into my head that I wanted to ask you guys, if Jones can sustain this level of play, bigger acquisition by Doug Wilson, Joe Thornton or Martin Jones?
Oof, I
mean, this is going down into granted, it's 3 games. I get that. But when you look at what Jones has done for this team just in these first 3 games, they all seem more relaxed. They all seem more confident. I'm saying let's project out halfway through the season, and Jones is, granted, he's not going to maintain a .98 save percentage.
Right.
He's not going to be getting 2 shutouts out of every 3 games. But if, say, over the next 20 starts, he does something ridiculous like goes 16-1-3. I mean, at what point can we judge this? Because right now it looks like the acquisition of the offseason by far.
Right. I mean, Landy's putting on there right now. It's 1 goal allowed. He stopped 77 of 78 shots. A save percentage of .987, which, the exception of Jimmy Howard, is the best in the league. And I think Jimmy Howard only played 1 game and he got a shutout on that. Goals against average of .333. I've never seen a Shark goaltender have an under 1 goals against average after 2-3 games. I mean, it's ridiculous. I think Rocket says it the best, though, right, Rocket? She said, "Oh my." We'll take my word on it.
No, I think that, I mean, you hear it all the time. The goalie makes the coach. The goalie makes the team. If you have a goalie, it's 90% of your team. If you don't have it's something like that, where if you have the goalie, it's 90% of your team. If you don't have the goalie, it's 100% of your team. And honestly, when you look at what's more important, a franchise goalie, a franchise defenseman, or a franchise center, in my book, the goalie is probably the hardest commodity to come by. The defenseman is probably the next hardest commodity, and the center is the tier after that. So, I mean, if Jones does sustain this level of play, I mean, you're looking at a Vezina contender, a Vezina candidate, and that's insane coming from a backup.
Which, if you remember, I predicted.
Yeah.
That was my bold prediction.
No, but I mean, like, if he's just able to keep this play up, though, it's pretty amazing, because 1, he's 6'4", 2, like I said before, he's got Pecorine-esque movements. The kid just is effortless going back and forth in the goal. He doesn't give a big window to shoot at, as far as, open net, and he's got good 5-hole control. I mean, the kid had his 5-hole open until like a millisecond before one of the Washington Capitals players went for it and shot on, and he just closed it. He's like, okay, yeah, it's open, closed. It was one of the nicer things to see, especially because we always gave crap to Niemi about his 5-hole control.
Oh yeah.
And there's so much confidence, and I think he just flows out of the confidence, where the guys are like, okay, we have a strong goalie, we can send him our way, we could do our thing, he's playing well. Again, then you throw in what Burns has done with, he's done back-to-back games where he's kind of sprawled, but he sprawled with assurance, I think it was what you could say about it, where he can break it up, and that was a great job again tonight from Burns, albeit he had a hat trick of penalties. He set up the first goal from Joe Thornton. Again, Joe Thornton tipped it to the net, which is unreal. This is ridiculous.
You mean he tipped past it?
He tipped past it. And there he is, fresh from his 3 games and 4 nights. There's Gentry Alexander. Gentry, your thoughts on something phenomenal going on here in net mining?
I'm flabbergasted as to who this team is, and I guess is it? Can we say that this team has found an identity, and it's proving to be, in a new voice, and it's kind of meshing well with the players? So it has. I mean, is this the reboot that we were kind of hoping for a couple seasons ago? Because
God forbid we have an identity, right?
Yeah, I'm I'm shocked, and I'm really happy with how it's been so far. I mean, everything that has happened, they have responded in spades, and wow. And who would have thought that a first rounder for Martin Jones at this point seems like a freaking steal? So
Well, let's not go blowing each other just yet. It's been 3 games, and we gave up a #1 pick to get him, which
No,
never happens for a goalie. But right now, it appears to be a steal. If he can sustain this, it's the best #1 pick they've ever given up. Let's not start bringing in the rentals, or let's not bring them up. But other than that, yeah, I'm blown away by what we've seen in 3 games. Like, I know a couple seasons ago there was, whether we talked or it was at the game, there was a lot of this is not this is not McClellan's fault. What's happening with the team now? You can't put this on McClellan. The players aren't executing and they're out of position. And Wilson is icing a substandard blue line and whatnot. And so far we've seen, just over the course of a season, a new coach. They've replaced McClellan with DeBoer, but look at what we had last year versus this season. I mean, Martin in for Hannon, right?
already an infinite upgrade there.
Yeah, of course, but and then Ward in for, I mean, it can't be John Scott, but what? I guess like Ward in for, say, Shepard, Scott,
Or Nieto on that second line.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's the other guy I'm thinking? Oh, Kennedy. So it's like, I mean, there was some pieces that left that started last season, but essentially just 2 primary acquisitions made this big of a difference. I mean, it just goes to show you that, Jesus, we couldn't have done this a season earlier.
Well, I mean, if you looked at previous to last season, right, we were 118 or 108 point team, and then you go from that to the level of play last year. I do think that was the players, and I don't give them a free pass there, but I also think that McClellan's kind of message has just gotten stale, And after a while, he just can't push the lever or can't push the buttons and move the levers that he used to be able to get out of him, because they'll be like, well, we've heard this before, we know how this goes, or we know what you're gonna do, or we know your shtick, like just you're full of yourself or whatever, and they kind of just brush it off. Now, whereas they have DeBoer, they have somebody different. It's like,
Right.
okay, this guy's, he's not saying this just to say it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like McClellan setting the world on fire with their #1 draft pick right now. And granted, they don't have a whole terrible amount of talent, but boy, Eichel is certainly outshining McDavid so far.
And Edmonton has been the disappointer of everything in the East or in the West.
He does have a goal today.
Yeah,
What?
he
Oh,
has his first one.
Yep.
Finally.
It's on the hockey news now, but yeah, I mean, like we said, let's not start blowing each other already. I mean, the top 3 teams in the West right now are the Sharks, Vancouver, and Arizona. 2 of those teams we basically penciled to be the 2 bottom teams of the Pacific when all is said
here's the
and
thing,
done.
though. I mean, you have to hold out a little bit of optimism, because given how last couple seasons have been, and given the the stagnant nature of the organization and everything like that, I mean, off to a 3-0 start is very impressive. And not only that, how they've played. They have played a team game. It hasn't been, one person doing all the work while the rest kind of just slack off and do whatever. It has been a team effort, and that's been the most impressive. And I think, maybe, you'll get your first loss in there and kind of, tow the momentum a little bit elsewhere. But if they can keep, playing the game in this structure, down the line, I mean, we could be thinking, I'm not going to say the P word, never mind. I mean, that's way too much optimism right there. We're only 3 games in. But still, I'm excited, and how they've played has just been, has gotten my hope up a little bit.
Yeah, Randy and Jamie were saying that just the overall vibe of the 3 wins. We opened up 3-0 last year with back-to-back shutouts with Niemi and Stalock, and then went to the Capitals and blew, I think it was a 3-goal lead, or I think it was a 3-goal lead, and ended up having to go to a shootout to win. And this time you've got 3 separate wins of different styles, but yet still have that same defensive structure, still that same defensive suffocation on the other team, and it just looks different.
Yeah, it's just it's a retool of sorts, and definitely you can see the changes here. And it seems like they're all playing for each other, and I don't know if that's part of Pavelski's leadership of sorts. With him wearing the C, you definitely can see that these guys, their passes are a lot more crisper. Definitely the effort is out there a little bit more. And again, yes, what AJ would call a small sample size. However, you dominated the rival that kicked you out of the playoffs a year ago while they went to a Stanley Cup and destroyed you in what was supposed to be the biggest celebration of hockey in the Bay Area. Then the next night, or 3 nights later, you pick on the team that everybody's picking to win the Stanley Cup and shut them down and dominate a couple of times in the third period where they couldn't make a line change to help them out while you're making one player change on the fly, like what, 4 minutes apart with that. And then you go all the way over to Washington, where you could have used the excuse, oh man, it was such a long flight, we're not used to the time change or anything, and you take care of it. And of all things, you have Mike Brown score the second goal of the game, which is phenomenal, and it just seems like everything's clicking together. Even, and I think Slushy Jake even mentioned this about the PK and the power play. Penalty killing is perfect right now. It's the best in the league. The Sharks are at 21%, 3 for 14 on the power play through the first 3 games. I mean,
And let's
just
be honest,
everything's
a couple little bounces and it could be even higher. I mean, they've gotten robbed on a couple, but I do like your comment about shutting down Anaheim towards the end of that game. If you go back and look at it, who was shutting down Anaheim? Our third and fourth lines.
Yeah.
That's who was getting it done. That's the thing. I can't remember over 3 games. I don't ever remember seeing a team show this much balance, top through bottom. And who knew that? Tierney. We had discussed it, and you knew that I was not a fan of the starting lineup. I thought Hurdle should be playing wing with Thornton and Pavelski. I thought Tierney should be centering the third line. Let Smith center the fourth line. And I'll be the first to admit that, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, because DeBoer has this locked in with, just look at that down the middle. Thornton, Couture, Hurdle, and Tierney. And Tierney with Brown right now, those guys are just clicking. Who knew? And imagine when Carlson's healthy and they plug him in over Goodrow.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to go over a couple numbers with you guys real quick and tell me, when was the last time you heard this? So Chris Tierney, our fourth line center, has 13 minutes of ice time. Thomas Hurdle has 14 minutes of ice time. Logan Couture has 18 minutes of ice time. Now you look at that and you go,
balance.
That is balance. That is not burning out your top players. And who led the points parade today? It was Tierney. Tierney had 2 points, had a goal and an assist. Hurdle had an assist. And Nieto had a goal and an assist. Goudreau had 2 assists. And so it's like, holy crap. I mean, when was the last time a third and a fourth line shared almost as much ice time as a second liner?
That's still Burr's style. Because if you remember when he took the Devils to the Stanley Cup final, he was rolling out all 4 lines very equally. And when he had that, I think it was Ryan Carter on that fourth line and Bernier on that fourth line, he was rolling them out and they were killing it. And I think that's the kind of same system that he's employing now. It's like, don't burn out your top players, roll them all out effectively, and then give everybody, offensive zone starts and defensive zone starts and get them all clicking, so that they're not just playing one style. They're playing, all lines are playing all situations, and it's working wonders right now.
Yeah, Burns had 23 minutes. He was the top, 23.4 minutes, so he was the top ice time earner. And the next person below him was Vlasic with 22.3. So the defense has got kind of a nice breakdown too. I mean, Burns was logging at least 25, 26, 27 minutes last year, and that would be pretty normal, pretty far par for the course. And then forget about Dan Boyle when we had Dan Boyle and how often he'd get played and how many minutes he'd get. So, it's refreshing to see a coach really stick to the philosophy of rolling through four lines, whereas McClellan's like, yeah, I want to do that, but when I have to play the matchups, I play the matchups. Whereas DeBoer is like, look, I'm going to give Hurdle, I'm going to give Tierney the opportunity to play against some of the better lines, some of the better players, and I'm going to trust them. I'm going to trust that they're going to do well. I'm going to trust that they can create for themselves, and he was rewarded tonight. I mean, Chris Tierney had a 55% efficiency rating in faceoffs, and Hurdle had a 50% efficiency in faceoffs. And faceoffs are huge, and especially when deploying in the defensive zone or deploying in the offensive zone, wanting to get that puck possession right off the bat. And you're talking both of those guys having above 50 or above percentage points. That's awesome.
Uh-oh. We have breaking news. We have breaking news.
Okay.
At approximately 3:15 today, a call came into the Nye County Dispatch Center from Richard Hunter, media director for Dennis Hoff's Bunny Ranch, requesting an ambulance for an unresponsive male experiencing a medical emergency at the Love Ranch in Crystal, Nevada. The patient, identified as Lamar Odom, was stabilized and transported to Desert View Hospital. So Lamar Odom is found unconscious, and who wouldn't be if you were married to Khloe Kardashian, any one of the Kardashians for that matter. But the fact that he was at a fucking brothel? Are you serious?
Well, let's hope first off, let's hope that he'll be okay.
Yeah, but dude, the comedy is writing
wow.
itself, dude. I can already picture the SNL sketch for this. I mean, you're married to a Kardashian, you're found unconscious, and it's at a brothel in Nevada. I mean, are they trying to put this stuff up on a tee for SNL? I mean, come on.
AJ Strong with the After Dark portion of our Pucknology After Dark.
Thank you. Is there anything else you guys want to get into about tonight's game?
I was just going to mention again, for those wanting to know, no, Jones has not broken the record for consecutive minutes played without allowing a goal. It's still state lock, but that's not lasting for too much longer unless the Devils score 44 seconds into the game on a Friday night. So Jones is at 178.11. Stalock's record was 178.55. So that's going to probably be broken in no time, unless there was a complete hiccup by Jones and the defenseman. So kudos to him. I mean, a way to make a statement. And like one person said on Twitter, Boston, thank you once again. First Joe Thornton 10 years ago. This year, Martin Jones so far has been an amazing guy.
Is that the best? Dude, somebody needs to send Boston like a gift bag or something.
A gift bag, yeah.
We just had to wait for Chiarelli to get out of there and go for it.
Do you guys think Stalock starts against the Devils and we see Jones against Brooklyn? Or
no way. No, Jones is going against the Devils, bro. You know DeBoer wants that win.
I think Jones will play against the Devils. I would expect Stalock to start in Brooklyn on a Saturday.
And now that we've kind of covered most of the Sharks game, let's use that as a nice little segue. What the fuck are the people in Brooklyn thinking with the Islanders at the Barclays Center? There's an article that came out, Barclays Center obstructed view. Essentially, you have a portion. Imagine, if you will, that there's a portion, a large portion, essentially sections, 205 through like 210 at the Shark Tank. Imagine if you were sitting in that section and you couldn't see the goal that the Sharks are shooting at twice. You cannot see the net. You can barely see the crease, but you cannot see the net. And you're paying $175 for this seat. Are you kidding me?
I'm just going through the pictures right now. It's bad. I mean, that's American West Arena bad. If you look, there's one picture on Google Images. I think it's from IslandersPointBlank.com. The straight on section, looking straight ahead on the ice on the goal side, you can barely see the face-off dots in the near side zone. That is really bad.
Like, how are you telling me like they didn't think about this? Like nobody checked with this? They didn't like throw down ice or throw down nets in the dimensions and say, okay, let's sit around and make sure all these seats are okay? I mean, you want to talk about obstructed view.
Yeah, it's really bad. In fact, I'm going to message one of my Islanders friends to hear if she's heard so many complaints about it, because it really hasn't looked like it's been selling out either.
Well, it is the Islanders.
Well, true, but I mean, at the same time, they're coming off a good year where they made a good run in the playoffs.
And they have black jerseys now too. Yay!
Hey.
Well, you can kind of understand them with the black jersey thing, though, right? Because the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, they have their black jersey thing, and it's kind of their thing. So I understand why they have it, but don't understand why we have it.
Because we want to be cool. We want to be cool like everybody else. You know,
Yeah.
I'm watching the highlights of the Connor McDavid tip in, and it's like it was kind of rather anticlimactic. You know, it wasn't like Eichel's first goal where it was like straight in. It was a snipe. That one was just like, oh hey, I happened to be here at the right time. Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, it's not how you get it; it's how you get it. I mean, you don't score until you score, and well, he just scored, so hopefully he scores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But overall, through the first week through the season, is there anything that you guys have liked or disliked outside of the Sharks so far?
3-on-3 overtime hockey. Can't say how much I am loving it. Now, granted, Anaheim and Vancouver went to 3-on-3 last night. It still ended up in a shootout, and one of the most fun shootouts ever. Watching Ryan Miller poke check Corey Perry at the end for the win was just gorgeous. But this 3-on-3. I cannot wait to see how this plays out the rest of the season. I'm loving this so far. And in fact, they had talked about the percentages of when it was 4-on-4, you had 46% of the games ending. So you had 54% of the games still going to a shootout, which we're all trying to eliminate, whereas now the numbers are supposed to be evening, or when they looked at the previous numbers in the preseason where they were doing the mandatory 3-on-3, and granted those are with B squad players, but they're looking at 76% of the games being settled in that first 5 minutes. So forget the OT. Hopefully, if it stays at 76%, I'll totally take that. However, if it stagnates and we're still at around 50 or so, I wouldn't mind them extending like 2 minutes and say a 7-minute 3-on-3 overtime.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't understand why they didn't do it the American Hockey League way, where it goes 4-on-4 and then it goes to 3-on-3. I like that system a little bit better, but
I could see where the PA was like, let's just get this over and done with. They're on the ice a little bit more, might give them some more wear and tear down the road. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I know Sidney Crosby actually shot the puck tonight? Did he do anything
No, he did not. He didn't register a point. Malkin got an assist. Woo woo. Um,
I'm sure he changed his tampon during the intermission. It's okay.
Oh,
Ooh, that was low.
but you know what? I mean, what's going on in Pittsburgh? Because
Nobody cares.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they were so hyped. Oh, we've got now Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel is going to answer all of our problems. I'm like, no, you had a pretty good top six. You really needed defense. You lost Paul Martin, and now you're relying solely on rookies and a very shaky Marc-Andre Fleury. Yeah, that really didn't work out well. And I think right now they're gonna get their win. They're gonna eventually go on a tear because eventually it's gonna click. But right now it's just their defense is just shot, and
Yeah.
they shot themselves in the foot while they did that. So
yeah, you make a good point, Gentry. They didn't pick up anybody to replace Paul Martin. They were banking on their youngsters from Wilkes-Barre Scranton.
and
Uh,
and and granted, Alimana is gonna be amazing like later on, and Chris Letang when he's healthy is still up there, but but the rest of them just what are they trying? Like, I understand that they're trying to, like, build that team on a budget because they've invested so much in three or now four players. I mean, you've got Malkin and Crosby all on long-term contracts and a gargantuan amount, and then you have, Phil Kessel's contract. I mean, yeah, they got some of it reduced, but it's still up there. And then you got Fleury, who's making 5 million, and that's 5 million too much. So.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing is they had Brooks Orpik, who they didn't replace. They had Matt Niskanen, who they didn't replace. So I mean, this isn't anything new. I mean, this is the continuation from last year, and
Yeah.
and they've got a wealth of rookies on the blue line, but nobody's proven. I mean, you can't just give these kids spots right away and expect them to go. I mean, to plug and chug. The defenseman doesn't work like that. And
Yeah, it's kind of like just giving somebody the keys to a car and say, drive, see what happens.
yeah, and it's giving them the keys to a Ferrari, basically, because you've got all of these high-end, top-flight forwards that you're trying to get to the puck, and you've got a kid behind the wheel trying to man and quarterback a power play or man and quarterback plays up the middle or on the rush. So yeah, I mean it's no surprise that they're not doing well, and I mean it's no surprise that Boston's doing horrible too. I mean look at their defense, and that was one question I want to throw out to everybody was, well, what do you guys think about Claude Julien? I think I don't know if he can sustain maybe another long losing streak, and I think he's done. I think if they don't win a game in the next 3 or 4, I think they'll seriously shit can him right now.
yeah, I think they're in really big trouble.
Oh
I think he
yeah.
was able to hang around just because he got Boston to two Cup Finals and a Cup win. But starting out 0-3, granted, he didn't exactly get any help from his GM in the off season to bolster his hockey club. But when you're already talking about possibly putting Brad Marchand, who I think still has a concussion, Zdeno Chara, who I think is just recovering from an injury, on on as trade bait and dangle it out there. If you're 3 games in and you're already trying to dangle your two of your most popular players that got you to a cup final, um, that's pretty bad. I mean, it looks like they're already tanking for what Austin Matthews, I think, is the number one ranked guy going into the draft next year.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
but Boston hit their sell by date. They're done. They need to start rebuilding, and if Julian doesn't recognize that, then they're going to bring in somebody who does. They're done. Put a
Yeah.
put a fork in him. But then again, you can't get too crazy. Like we've said, nobody expected it. Like we said, we're only a week into this, but nobody expected Vancouver to be where they are. Nobody expected Arizona to be where they are, and no one expected the SoCal teams to be where they are. The only team who's like pretty much where everybody thought they would be is Edmonton. That's about in the Pacific Division.
Yeah.
So yeah, you look at what's happened in LA. I'm wondering if this offseason did impact them more than they thought, and that's actually a couple of things that I had in our kind of around the league is how about the Kings losing Dwight King for 8 to 10 weeks, and drugs and domestic violence was not involved. Is anybody shocked that they've lost a player? And that wasn't the case. But the bigger issue is, how did LA get away with that Michael Richards settlement? Even Darren Drager today on TSN said several GMs were grumbling over this. How do you get away with paying a guy like over the next 10 years?
Well, it's the same thing that we were saying last week when we had Brody and NHL Size on, is how in the heck would the Kings get away with some guy using his helmet to headbutt an opponent to the head, no less, because we were trying to take away shots to the head. I don't know what it is in LA. I don't know if it's just, we need the LA market to do well. Yeah, because the NFL's done that the last 21 years. But I just don't get it. It just seems LA can do whatever it wants, and if anybody else were to try that, they're getting in trouble.
No, I think there's I honestly think there's a double standard here. I think that teams like LA, teams like New York, the Rangers, teams like Montreal, just those bigger market teams have can get away with that because they can use their clout and push the league to do things. So that's kind of where I see things at.
But at the same time, oh, go ahead, Ginger. I'm sorry.
Breaking news: Christian Ehrhoff just shot it on net.
Did it go in?
No.
There you go.
No, but it hit the goalie though. I mean, he had a career game in the opener when he got 2 shots on net. I was surprised as hell.
And yet, our friend Andrew Bench still refers to him as a good defenseman. I don't know what, and that was even tonight.
He's serviceable. He's serviceable in the O zone, but in the defense, he's in the defensive zone. He's just a wreck. He is a wreck.
You just need to know that when he shoots, get into a spot where he can tip it. That's all you can say. Another team that kind of is surprising me, and some people were calling them the dark horse for the season. And again, small sample size, but Columbus was supposed to be a team that was on its way up with the line of Foligno, Saad, and Johansson. What is it over in Columbus?
They're 0-3 right now, yeah, and no signs of life there.
That was a team I thought would come back after missing the playoffs last year, to make it and do some things. I thought for sure.
Well, I think they kind of got off kilter a little bit when they played Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo looked good, and I just think that they kind of misjudged their competition there, and I'm kind of just looking back through their game sheets, and yeah, lackluster play. I'm not sure if it's goaltending there or if it's just a lack of energy, motivation. I have no idea, but yeah, that was kind of scratching my hair too.
Yeah, that's one that kind of just makes no sense to me. So one thing I want to talk about, it came out today here. ESPN has what they call the ultimate standings. I'm very surprised, but then again, I'm not. The Sharks took the second biggest drop in the rankings, where it ranks the top or the 4 major pro sports: baseball, football, basketball, hockey. The Ducks were the second highest. The Tampa Bay Lightning were the third best in all of the league and topping out the NHL. The Sharks finished at, I'm trying to pull it down here.
I beg your pardon?
Yes, the Sharks finished at 26th, 88th overall in their ultimate standings. Yes, that's right. They finished worse than the Islanders with a crappy rating, and the Florida Panthers, who are ranked 13th and 48 overall. Your thoughts?
Clearly, ESPN has no fingers on the pulse for hockey, as evident with their fantasy hockey updates, because it takes them forever to get it done.
That's true too. But
remember their big their big communication to the Sharks was trying to get them to change the name to the Sharknadoes last year. That's their big contribution. So yeah, ESPN can.
They're kind of a joke. I mean, I don't like Burnside at all, and LeBrun is decent. Melrose is a joke. I mean, it's Mickey Mouse. It's a Mickey Mouse club over there. It's not a good outlet for hockey news at all.
Nope.
I wouldn't put any faith or any stock into what they say.
I mean, they're probably still going off of highlights from Mighty Ducks 2. I mean, because that's how on the pulse are with hockey.
Well, let's be honest. They haven't paid attention to the sport since they lost the contract to OLN.
Yeah. How this breaks down is 11.3% affordability, coaching 3.2%, fan relations 25%, ownership 13.1%, and we all know how lovely the fans feel about the ownership around here right now. Players 14.6%, stadium experience nearly 10%, title track 4.6%, and bang for the buck. It's worth noting that the worst team that took the nosedive in the ranking belonged to the San Francisco 49ers.
What a shock!
Well, guess why?
Yeah.
But going on, it's the Sharks owe a debt of gratitude to their football neighbors in nearby San Francisco. If not for the 76-point drop that the Niners took, the Sharks would have been the biggest drop in the overall standings. It's a precipitous fall for a franchise that traditionally graded well in our rankings, placing no lower than 32 or 32nd in the 7 of the past 8 years, and as high as 12th in 2010. They gave them kudos for not raising ticket prices after the playoff collapse last season. The average ticket at the moment is $54.68, which good luck trying to find a nosebleed for $54.68 inside the Shark Tank. I'm sorry, that can't be per se. What's bad is that the frustration set in for us, where we saw the streak of the playoffs runs end. Couple that with the reverse sweep and how Todd McKellen left by mutual agreement. So they didn't like that. The 30.
Well, you're just bumming everybody the hell out, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. I'm trying to. There's a method to my madness, guys. They talked about the Shark Tank, opening up in '93, and how they say that it will help the being renovated and everything before Platinum, talk about the lease, but wink, wink, hint, hint. Let's talk about building a new rink soon. That's the bad news about coming through with the Sharks. The good news there is, I'm going to let you finish, but this jersey is the greatest jersey of all time. I'm just saying. No, the Hockey News will come out with its October 16th issue with the top 100 jerseys of all time. And I don't know, I mean, I love this jersey, but I was quite surprised that the original Sharks jersey is ranked number 1 of all time. We'll go around the horn. We'll start with Gentry. What do you think? Do you think number 1 all time for the Sharks' original teal jersey?
Before Gentry cuts in, I really have to say that we're really missing Chris today for the false dichotomy on this. But go ahead, Gentry.
I agree. Do I think it's the greatest one? No, I thought I guess I still call it the Nike design one was their best one, because that was just, it looked different from the rest of the NHL. That one just kind of looks.
Yeah,
yes.
The one that you have on.
Yeah. That was my favorite one because it was different from the rest of the league. I mean, that one kind of just looks like a little bit of a send or a little bit of a take from the the Chicago Blackhawks. So, I mean, yes, I do like it, and I'm thinking they're going more for when that jersey was first released, it was selling like hotcakes, and the color was just it was different from everything else that was happening. So, yeah, in terms of impact, I mean, yes, I agree that it was big, but I don't think it's the number one jersey of all time. But I'm just glad the Sharks are number one in something.
HA?
No, there's a couple of good points with that. That if you see somebody say that maybe they're a little bit further away, there's no name or number on it. If someone is wearing a Chicago jersey, a Montreal jersey, maybe a Red Wings jersey, it's like maybe not sure what that is off of first glance, just based on the back, because all you do is see the red. Or you pick a different, or with the way everybody's wearing these friggin' black jerseys, you never know. But that's the thing. That teal, that's the only team that uses that. I mean, you just see that color. When I see that color, I automatically think of San Jose, and I think of the Sharks. So it is pretty. It's pretty brilliant, and you look at it. It is overall classic. It's not too busy. It's got one of the best logos ever done, and I also like the fact that it is one primary color. You've seen some of the. Let's not talk about the Phoenix Coyotes original jersey when you talk about too many colors, or even even the Anaheim Ducks original home jersey. I mean, there was a little too much use of color. Actually what the Hockey News said was it's flawless, and it really is. Landy?
It's interesting because I work in Southern California in San Diego, and I have people routinely stop and say, "Oh, you're a Sharks fan," and I'm like, "Yeah," because I'll go to work wearing either a Shark jersey or Shark colors, anything like that, and instantly. One of the first things somebody was telling me was, I remember in 1991 when that jersey came out, how it just captivated all of the sports world. He said, that jersey, I could not believe how much they sold that jersey, how that jersey became so iconic to a team, and really just embody the Sharks, embody the 90s, and in a good way, not in a way that screamed like neon colors or super highlighter gray with the highlighter color scheme T-shirts or whatever. No, it was tasteful. It was an homage to the original six and the style of jersey, the style of paneling. Great color, but that logo, it just was awesome. And I also read a little bit of the Hockey News saying that the use of the triangle, while it wasn't pioneered by the Sharks, it was the most innovative use, the way that shark just kind of came out of the triangle and bit the hockey stick. So, yeah, kudos. I mean, it's an awesome jersey, and it's iconic to me.
Well, and I think another point to bring up about it, too, is look at the teams that came into the league when the Sharks did and who's come afterwards, and you think about whether it's the Ducks, completely redesigned their jersey with a whole new colors and new crest. You look at the Coyotes, new colors, new crest. You look at the Blue Jackets, they totally switched their jersey around from that annoying yellow
Neon
jacket,
bugger.
that neon bug, to a cannon or a flag or whatever it is this week. But you look at the Sharks, for the most part, it's essentially been the same for 25 years. Obviously, they sharpened some of the angles of the original logo. They gave the shark a nice little teal toupee. But other than that, it's still essentially the primary jersey. You look at even when they have that Edge, the Reebok Edge version as the heritage one, it's still classic.
Yeah, it actually, I think it looks even more solid than the original one, because that darker color makes it pop a lot more. But you're right. I mean, it started. I mean, I was looking up for a future article post about the jersey, and that's not my dog, by the way. I mean, I looked it up, and outside the Canucks, who went from the crazy V to it being on the shoulder and then just having the plain black stripe or the plain stripes on the side, along with the LA Kings going from purple and gold to silver and black, there wasn't a major change. Well, I take it back. Along with Winnipeg, they went from having the shoulder stripe down to just the arm stripe. Those outside those three teams, nobody had really changed their jersey around for since the four teams from the WHA came in. I mean, maybe a patch here, patch there. Maybe they changed the color here or a sock there. When the Sharks came into the league and they unveiled these jerseys back here, all of a sudden they noticed how quickly they were marketing this and marketing teal that everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon. And it also not just set a precedence in the NHL, but also sports logos all over the place. And it's really been interesting to see because now all of a sudden now you want a third jersey, you want to experiment. You look at like how the Detroit Pistons went from their traditional red and blue to all of a sudden they're wearing teal, black, red, and yellow. Or you look at how the Islanders went overboard with the fisherman jersey. It's just amazing what that jersey did in sports. Changed it forever.
Yeah, and
You
it's
go
not
through
like
everything that they've done with uniform wise, even from the Edge jerseys onward. Go ahead, Lady. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say. I mean, you look at some jerseys now, and like especially when you see like the Winter Classic or the Heritage Classic, and you look at those jerseys and you go, oh, those are so cool. They're old timey. They look, they look awesome. They're historical. If you were to play them every day, you kind of be like, well, they kind of need to be updated or whatever. But that jersey, for being 25 years old, I mean, it still looks like it could have been made yesterday. It's kind of just that timeless design. And the only thing that I lament with the new jersey and the new edge system is they got rid of the gray, and I love the gray. That gray bar on the bottom just accented the teal just that little bit more, and I think that's kind of what we're missing in the new edge style jerseys.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, they might fix that when they go to Adidas anyway. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll see what happens when it's next season for the 100th, but I digress. Let's move on from this. I did want to hit one thing real fast, and it was just, and we kind of already touched on it, but it was just that idea of we saw after 2 games, DeBoer essentially saying, that was a statement game. This is a new team. This is, it's a whole new attitude. It's a brand new Sharks team. Blah 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 blah. I think it's a little quick to say that after a whopping 2 games at the time. But I gotta
Sharks
say,
are back. Come on.
the Sharks are back. But you know what? At least they're living up to it at this point. I mean, they've had 1 game since those comments were made, and what happened? Oh, no biggie, 5-0 win. So let's get into that after. Let's take a look when we're 10 games in, and when we hit that quarter of the way mark. But the last thing I wanted to bring up was now some of us, I believe 3 out of 4 of us, were at the tank for opening night. Is there anything you wanted to share about the festivities? Anything good? Anything bad? What's up?
I thought everything seemed pretty good. I love the projection on the ice. I think I said it before I lost my battery on my phone on Saturday night that I hope they keep that.
Nope.
Considering that they already took it down. You would think
No,
with 2 teams afford it,
Yeah, no, they were actually taking it down as I was still there. At the towards it, because they were bringing down the LEDs and stuff, because the Sharks in the CUDA aren't there for like a week and a half, so they're bringing everything down. But yeah, that's as far as from what I know, the only time they bring that in is opening night and playoffs.
That's too bad.
It is. I don't know why. I don't understand why it costs so much or whatever it is to have that happen. But anyway, you were saying?
Yeah. Well, I would say, even if it's just the same thing over and over again, even if it's just to project the water on the ice, that'd be cool. The other thing, too, is the sound system. I don't think the upper bowl is getting any sound from the speakers going around the Shark Tank at all. Because, personally, I watched the replay of the game on Saturday night. through Randy and Bakes, I can hear the goal song more on the television than I could in the stands. And
And that's
kudos to
saying
us if
something.
it's and kudos to us if we're that loud. But I swear I couldn't hear anything. I mean, I didn't even know that they played "Cool for the Summer." They seemed like they were up on their most recent music, which good for them. They're trying to mix things up a little bit. However, you still need an organist. Um, it just seems like it was very quiet for the music or for anything being said over the PA system.
Gentry?
Yeah. Other than I thought it was a pretty ho hum kind of home opener. I mean, it was just nice to be back at the tank, but compared to when I went to the Staples Center and their production value for that, it was like night and day of quality. I think the Kings put on or the Staples Center at this point was they put on a much better intro and everything, and they got you hyped up, and it was just like it was an immersive experience being there. Whereas you got to the Sharks, and it was like, yeah, the projection on the ice was cool, but I've seen it before in the playoffs. Um, you would think that for the 25th anniversary, they would kind of do how they did it with the 20th, where it was like, a lot of classic plays, a lot of, harken back to, from classic players, and that was kind of missing.
Yeah, I didn't
And
I didn't feel the anniversary vibe too much outside. Oh, look, our logo has 25 on it.
yeah,
Yeah, I would have. No, it's a good point. It would have been nice to see them because obviously when you go around the arena right now, you can see banners that have the current squad on there, but you also see banners featuring Nolan and Friesen and Urbe and Larry Onoff and so on and so forth. Um, so yeah, I think it would have been cool if part of the opening ceremony, it doesn't have to be part of the projection per se, but maybe they put together something on the jumbotron that features some significant plays over the course of the last 25 seasons. That would have been cool. I really enjoyed the projection on the screen. As for the warm up music and some of that stuff, it's given me a headache. It's when you consider that the team is broadcast on a classic rock station. Not that they have to play classic rock 24/7, but they've made a big move I felt like over the last 2 seasons. They're playing a lot more EDM. They're playing a lot more like current pop and dance stuff when they would go to when it was an intermission, or not an intermission, but when it was a commercial, there was a stoppage in play, you'd hear classic rock stuff, but you'd hear some new stuff. But you'd hear anywhere from Def Leppard to Chicken Foot to whatever. I mean, stuff that if you watch any game in Dallas, all that stuff that you hear Dallas play, but they play some current rock too. And now it's just like, holy crap, it is a lot of dance music, a lot of poppy stuff. But I will say that I'm enjoying my shirt, my free 25th anniversary shirt there. I thought the rally before the game was cute. It was fun. I think they could have used a little more of Autumn Street because it was really, really packed, especially the beer lines and whatnot. I think they could have used that a little bit better, use a little bit more of the park. But for the inside, I had a blast from beginning to end. Of course, they did raise the beer prices.
What a
other than-
shock!
Yeah. Other than that, and of course, I did not see my BFF John Turturro.
I was just about to say that yeah, who knew that John Turturro was such a big dance fan,
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I can see why they would have the dance music going, where you want them to pump up, get the place really pumped up and everything. Not that you can't do that with rock, but I think you get the higher beats per minute, not to get all musical here and everything. But I think using the beats per minute just gets everybody really going, jumping.
Yeah, but when you've got 20 songs that all 20 songs that all sound the same, where it's just it gets a little repetitive. For the goal song, granted, we only heard it twice. They still got to dial that mix in. It's still kind of hard to hear the hey. It's still kind of hard to hear the song overall. Now, granted, when 17-5 are losing their shit on opening night, let's give them a couple more games to see how they dial it in. Hopefully, they boost the haze a little bit more and they try to EQ it a little bit better so it sounds better in there and brighter and. Or figured out a way to do an organ version of it, like they did for Rock and Roll Part 2 for the Love of Mike.
I
Go
will
ahead.
say that people are overreacting with how much it's like, I can't hear the song, like, this is a horrible goal song. I'm like, that's because you guys aren't hearing it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like once they get the full volume effect of that song, it's going to work, and I think it's still more unique than any of the other goal songs. I mean, the one
Absolutely.
that I didn't even know what the fucking goal song was at at the Kings game. I was just kind of sitting there going like, what fucking song
or
is
or
this?
or for that matter, when I was trying to listen to the game or watch the Barracuda game,
I
that's
don't
right.
know what fucking goal song that was.
It was like a
That's
random mix. It was like somebody just hit the Spotify randomized mix, and it was just like, all right, they scored. Random song.
I like what they played. I liked what the Barracuda played for their power play, whereas the Sharks play obviously the Jaws theme, and the Barracuda played like kind of like just a house beat with just the Barracuda guitar on top of it. So that was kind of cool. I hadn't heard anything like that before, but
so wait, they
yeah.
actually played Heart there.
No,
The other
well,
one.
all you heard was you basically had that just a boons boons boons, and on top of that was that dun 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 dun. That's all it was. So, oh Jesus Christ, really, dude? Again with that shit?
You know
Every
what? I don't think
fucking
they
time
owned
you
up.
bring up the Barracuda, he's got to whip out that fucking song. Like
I
we're
gotta
not
whip
gonna
it
be
out.
tired of it.
I'm gonna
You
be.
know what?
I'm
They
gonna
didn't
whip it
use it
out.
at. They didn't use it opening night at SAP Center. So
Well, it's because you had player introductions. I'm sure the next game they'll use it. And that was actually one thing I wanted to bring up. Gentry was talking about how fantastic the production was for opening night for LA. I thought the production for San Jose was pretty damn good. Can we talk about opening night in Anaheim? How bad did that suck? Dude, like their opening night light show was like the Sharks standard. They really did next to nothing.
Yeah, now the Anaheim, I've been up there at least 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times, and the whole experience is just lackluster. I mean, it's like the seating is kind of weird the way that they do it. They have little sections that go up to each section, so you're kind of cut off from everybody who's in the upper bowl to who's in the lower bowl. It's like you feel like you're a second-class citizen when you go up to the upper bowl. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and it's just kind of got like an overall really uh, I don't know, like just lackluster, just lacks any kind of character, or at least like the tank, it's kind of got that retro modernistic look where it's concrete and glass, and it looks good. Whereas Anaheim, it's just so bad. It's just characterless.
What
Well,
would you?
go ahead, Eric.
I was gonna say, what would you do to because to me, I think there isn't much that says sharks in the tank. It's almost like in the sense where Levi's kind of doesn't have too much where it has Niners in their stadium. I, I mean, I'm not gonna say paint everything teal, of course. And by the as a side note, who wants to take a tour of the Sharks locker room?
Oh yeah, big time. I even asked him.
Yep.
I'm like, do you guys doing that or what, man? Because that looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, if they can do that, that'd be cool. If they have something like that around the tank, I think that would go a long way to making it even more intimidating for everybody.
Yeah, I
But go
mean,
ahead,
you also
AJ.
got. Oh, I just got to
Uh,
say, you also got to realize that it's a multi-purpose venue, right?
Yeah, big time.
So I mean, even I'm trying to think of like the Joe Louis Arena, right? That's just Red Wings, and they've got some Red Wings centric stuff like the mural with the Stanley Cup and all that. but other than that, I mean, there's nothing that really screams Red Wings when you go there. I mean, yeah, there's little iconography here and there, but I don't know. It's kind of hard, right? Because if you got like a Taylor Swift concert, do kids really want to be seeing, shark stuff? I mean, that's cool for us, but for
Well,
somebody
no,
who's
it's like whenever I've gone to see a concert at the Oakland Coliseum, I don't see Warriors shit everywhere, hardly, like barely at all.
right,
That's what you use all the LED stuff for. That's what you use all the screens for. Just like how the stadium in the Meadowlands that the Jets and the Giants play in. It's just with a flick of the switch, you change all the colors, and now it represents this. It's fine. For the Barracuda, though, I don't. Did either of you guys, Gentry or Eric, did either of you go to the opener for the Barracuda?
I
Gentry
did.
did.
Yeah, I was. I don't know about how you felt about it. I thought it was. I mean, the price is definitely right.
Yeah.
$27, and I was 10th row from the glass. So I mean, the price is definitely right. But holy hell, is it a little too over the top, kid friendly for my take on it? And I understand because you're trying to appeal to the families because you have this lower ticket price and it's a more affordable thing. But the one thing that was driving me a little batshit crazy. It kind of reminded me of like a Sabercats production where there was like almost just too much hype shit every time there was ever a stoppage in play. Like it's one of those things where kids have to be constantly entertained. There can't ever be a second of silence. And even before the game started, they had some couple. I don't even know who the hell these people are, but some guy and some girl in that area in the landing where they usually do the prize patrol contests for Sharks games, and they're there with wireless microphones going, are you guys ready for some hockey? And it's like, no, we're not. We came here just because it was cooler in here. It's like, just shut the crap up and play the game. I
Yeah.
wasn't chill with that,
I
but price wise, it was good.
No, I mean for the price, you can't complain. I would have much rather seen a Barracuda win, but I mean at the expense of not seeing the Sharks win the next day, I'll take a Barracuda loss. But I mean, I thought it was serviceable. I kind of thought they were just gonna hype it up a little bit more, like but it did seem like it was trying to cater to children, and I get it because it's lower ticket prices, so you can bring an action. You could bring. It's kind of like a night at the movies with these prices, if you think about it. Like for $15, I mean that's around the price of admission to go see something like a 3D movie. So I
Yeah,
mean,
no, for what it costs to do two people to go to a game for the Sharks, you're taking a family of four, possibly five, and and you're still getting your sodas and all your stuff, and still sitting in great seats. So
yeah. I mean, I thought it was cool, and I thought it was fun to be there, and it was fun to kind of witness like the very first Barracuda game, and you can kind of see that it's like, okay, we need to know how we're gonna do this, because I thought it was really weird at first when you saw those like black curtain things kind of on the at the ends of the arena, like in the upper section, because they were blocking that off because they didn't want they kind of wanted to
Make it more
shelter.
intimate.
Yeah,
yeah.
but to me it just kind of made SAP Center feel smaller, But I
But
will say it was,
honestly, if you looked at it though, they could have brought all the people from the upper deck down to the lower bowl.
yeah, no, there was still plenty of seating available in the lower bowl. I mean, for the fact that it was the first game and it didn't seem it didn't seem packed, but it still had more people in attendance than a Florida Panthers game is saying something.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know if it. I felt like when I've gone to SaberCats games, there's been more people at SaberCats games.
It seemed
Oh yeah.
like it. It seemed like it when watching him. Um, I was kind of surprised. I figured for Friday night it was ready, nice and ready to go, and just barely even halfway full for it.
It makes me wonder if the AHL. Now, granted, you have to do it the same season, of course, and let it run with the NHL because of bringing guys up and sending guys down and all that. But it makes me wonder if the AHL would be more beneficial if they played over the months when there is no hockey, or maybe instead of starting their season a couple weeks late. Maybe they started a month early or something, but to try to get people that are into hockey that have no other outlet essentially at that point, try to make some extra cash that way, because right now you're just competing against yourselves, and like we had mentioned, a lot of it's that focus on the family money.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's a great idea. Is like start it in like mid-September, kind of get like the fan base kind of there, because obviously if you do it too soon, if you try to do it in August, really it's just like the start of training camp, nobody really cares. But if you do it in like kind of mid-September, everybody's kind of jonesing for hockey, and for a cheaper price, they can go see a Barracuda game, and then 2-3 weeks, or something like that later, they can go to a Sharks game. Maybe it will actually help out the Sharks in the long run, because they've already had people already jonesing for hockey with the Barracuda playing. So,
But the oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, but I think that it would really help out everybody if they started a little bit sooner. However, I mean, it would kind of affect the overall. I don't know how SAP Center would handle the scheduling and stuff like that, but
I get what you mean for. I'm sorry, lady. I get what you mean for starting early. However, I think the problem is that they would run into is that the teams use this for keeping the development going. I mean, if they were to finish in March, I mean, there's some guys that are already taken off for the year, and then all of a sudden somebody gets hurt during a Sharks playoff run, and then all of a sudden they're out of the shape of sorts. Sorry, Landy, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, how has the advertising been? Has there been much differentiation between Barracuda versus Sharks? I mean, it just seems to me like it's not getting out there much. It's like I don't know if it's known enough yet.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've hardly seen anything on CSN once the season started.
I haven't seen any television advertisement at all.
I saw a few.
Did you?
But I haven't since the season started.
Yeah, I haven't seen any at all, which, you would think that they would kind of push it. Now, granted, both teams are going to be in town for at least another week, so.
And maybe we'll see a big push. Maybe we'll see a big push for like when they do their first doubleheader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing too. You would think that they would push that. But don't you also think, guys, that yes, they make it affordable for families and everything? Doesn't that give them the excuse to, overpay, to have us overpay for the Sharks? Because opening night, I think the cheapest ticket was like $75, and it wasn't too long ago, about 10 years after we came back from the lockout, that they were doing this whole lockout to keep the ticket prices down, and you could still go to the Shark Tank for a Sharks game for $20 and still have a decent seat in the upper bowl, and even if you want to pay and splurge $80 to be in the lower bowl, now $80 might get you a ticket in row 17 behind Martin Jones.
Yeah, I paid for my home opener tickets. I paid 61 something like that for the home opener, which I was like, oh, that's a steal. And I'm kind of thinking like, and I've heard people that had to spend upwards of 80 for tickets that were 3 rows behind me in my same section, which was 217. So I'm like, what is happening? I mean,
yeah, I paid 92 to sit in 209 row 12.
Wait, what? What? Hold on, what?
I paid $92 from Ticket Bastard to sit in section 209, row 12.
Dude, I was in 209 on opening night, row 3, and I think my tickets cost me like 86 each.
Yeah, mine was 86 with a $6 fee.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't have to pay the fee. Cool. Yeah, no, I hate that crap. But yeah, no, I hear you. And the thing I'm kind of excited about is that the next game that I have tickets for the Sharks is November 7th versus Anaheim, which just also happens to be the very first Barracuda Sharks doubleheader day.
Nice.
So I'll definitely be hitting that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and hit that up too because and I think that's the first. That's one of the Sharks alumni night, and I believe they're focusing on Owen Nolan, if I'm correct.
Yep, that's the Olin Nolan locker day.
I'm going.
Oh, I might need to grab that. I need to get that mini locker.
Let's take it to the tweets and then get the crap out of here.
Yep.
Let me see a couple tweets here. Blah blah blah. Let's go. Okay. Jakey has been asking for like an hour and a half. Wants to know what our favorite. It says the favorite Randy Hahn call. For me, it's pretty much anytime he says goal for the Sharks. But for me, I would say. Yeah, I'd say it's a cross between. I think it's a cross between Setaguchi getting the overtime winner in L.A., the 6-5 win in the when the Sharks were down 4-0 and had the comeback. What was it? The fuck up on Figueroa, whatever.
Stunner at Staples or something like that.
Yeah, something like the I heard it was the fuck up on Figueroa. Stunner at Staples, whatever. That call, and then of course Hurdle's fourth goal against the Rangers. Gentry?
You know what? There's one specific game that comes to mind, and
let me guess, Dan Boyle.
No, I mean he was playing in that game, but it was I believe it was 2009, where the Sharks played against the Detroit Red Wings, and it was the year they won the President's Trophy. Yep, and it was that epic 6-4 game, and every call just seemed to be. I mean, I've quoted that game quite a bit. I mean, every time Patrick Marleau makes it 6-4, that's the game I tend to quote a lot. But I think that whole game, because it was a playoff atmosphere in that building for that game, because you had two of the top teams in the West, and at the time, the Sharks really, and we started to see the Sharks starting to dominate the Red Wings at that point. So the fact that for every goal the Red Wings scored, the Sharks answered back, and vice versa, and it was just a good back and forth. And you kind of saw the student, in the master kind of thing with Babcock and McClellan. They were fighting in that game, and it seemed like, and it just Randy Hahn's calls were legendary. And the Sharks get a very key first goal, and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Landy?
I like it when he says, and he scores, Patrick Marleau, the way he kind of has the inflection with Patrick Marleau. I find that pretty funny. I like that a lot. So yeah, that's that one, and I guess the Setaguchi goal as well. Or I remember when Pavelski scored an overtime goal against Philadelphia when we were down, I think it was either 4 or 5, and we kind of climbed all the way back, and then Pavs finished it off in the overtime, and that was also a really good goal too. Yeah.
You guys are missing one big key one, and it was from 2001 when the Sharks were down 2-0 to Boston. They get a goal with 5 minutes left, and then a minute and a half. Exactly, and then Owen Nolan ties it with a minute left, and the Sharks had that push like we've seen from the Sharks this week. Keep pushing and pushing, and then they just kept coming again and coming again. And sure enough, Sturm scores it with 15 seconds left, and it was unbelievable.
What's funny is that the goaltender for Boston that game was Tim Thomas.
No, that was Byron Dafoe.
I thought it was Tim Thomas.
No, that was a little earlier on Thomas's time.
Okay,
oh my
girls.
God.
All right, girls, you're both pretty. The next question.
Shut up, AJ.
Laurel asked her fisherman roommate, and he says the logo looks nothing like a Barracuda. Your thoughts?
Really?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Who cares? Well, hold on. I completely agree. I don't know what the hell 2 big teal V's. Yeah, I don't think 2 big teal V's look like a Barracuda either. I'll be honest with you. Oh, is there something else on there? Oh, there is something else on there. All I saw was the two,
You mean the San Jose Barracuda Network logos?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
gotcha.
yeah. I would agree. Oh Jesus Christ, Jake! This kid's gonna wear us out, but before we even make Thanksgiving, man,
He's
this
3
guy's gonna.
games in and
He's already wearing us out now, and I get it because it is 25th anniversary. He says favorite Sharks moment, non-lock out. I'm not sure what that means. Favorite Sharks moment, non-lock, 91 through 2004. So your favorite Sharks moment pre-lockout, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's like okay. Nobody gets to say Baker's goal versus Detroit. Yeah, for me, I mean, I already said my piece with the commercial where I mentioned about what it was like to be walking around San Jose. That at that point when we were playing Detroit in the playoffs, it was amazing. But I'd say the memory that really sticks with me was at the game. It's going to be Ricci getting the hat trick on Hat Day for fan appreciation. But on TV, it's going to be Nolan's shot at center ice against St. Louis.
Yep. That was mine.
I'll go Game 7 double overtime Ray Whitney. That was a great game. Back and forth.
Fucking shocker.
Shut up!
All right, and let's hear about Gentry's Boyle moment.
Yes.
Oh, that was, but he didn't join the team.
Yeah, I know. Sense the sarcasm. Go ahead.
I guess.
But you wanted to talk about Boyle being scratched, but go ahead.
I will say this about Boyle being scratched tonight. Yeah, the Rangers lost. Coincidence? I don't know. Anywho. Or sorry, it'd be relevance, but whatever. My favorite moment pre-lockout, you gotta go Patrick Marleau's Game 1 hat trick against the Colorado Avalanche. That was
a good game.
And that also had Randy Hunt. That was like some of his best play, calling. It's like, Patrick Marleau, that's a killer goal. I mean, that was...
I'm sorry, I'd like to switch my selection now, please. Now, all of a sudden he brought up Colorado, and I'm like, no, okay, now my favorite moment in that era was Navi getting the shutout versus Wall at the Pepsi Center.
Oh, that was a good one, his debut. Yeah. But yeah, that was a great game, Gentry. That was really awesome.
All right, Landy, hurry up because we got one more question. We're gonna get the hell out of here.
Yeah, no, mine probably was the first game I ever went to in the 94-95 season. Just being a kid and watching that shark head come down for the first time, and just seeing the eyes light up, and just seeing the guys skate out of that. I thought that was the coolest thing, Sharks being my favorite animal and all that. It was just like, oh my God, I'm a kid in a candy store.
That wasn't creepy. Anyway, so one more question. Final question. And guess what? It's from our buddy Jake.
No!
He says,
where's Crispy Churro with the 0? We haven't heard from him yet.
Well, we haven't heard from Gen X tonight. We haven't heard. Well, you know what it is. They're all. No, I was gonna say they're all busy watching Vancouver, LA. Final question. What was your reaction to the Joe Thornton trade? Of course, mine was get the fuck out of here. I mean, it was, Primo, Stewart, and Sturm. I was just kind of like, yeah, I'll take that. Because if you remember at the time, I just remember being at American Airlines versus Dallas. The team was just like on a 10-game skid. They couldn't buy a win. They couldn't buy a goal. They just sucked out loud. And then it was just like, well, that's certainly a move, isn't it? What about you, Landy?
I was probably watching the broadcast and just seeing them kind of stop mid-sentence, look on the bench, and they're like, Marco Sturm and Wayne Primo aren't on the bench. And then you had Drew going like, I think there's been a trade. And then you hear Randy kind of clarify.
Something else is happening.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like,
we don't want to say anything, but we think something else is happening.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than when you're a day or two before the trade deadline and there's like a player that just happens to not be on the bench. He could be taking a leak, but the announcers are just like, did he get moved? Oh my God.
Yeah. Or if they stopped playing him like in the middle of the game and it didn't look like they had an injury or anything. I remember what was it? It was for, I think it was Montreal and somebody. I want to say, no, you know what? It could have been the New York Islanders when they traded what the hell's his name?
Well,
Anyhow.
if you don't know, we're not going to tell you.
No, it's just the mid-game trades when they take somebody off the ice, and it's like, wow, he didn't get injured. What's going on there?
It kind of reminds me of when we scratched Ryan Clough before we traded him to the New York. It was like, Ryan Clough's a healthy scratch, and everyone's like, oh, he's gonna get traded.
Yeah, no, he's not a healthy scratch. He's a traded.
Yeah.
He gone.
He gone.
All right. With that, we will close up the book on this edition of Pucknology After Dark. Feel free to hit the subscribe button down below or to the side. Make sure you follow us on social media on Facebook and Twitter.
In other words, throw up the graphic, Lindy. Throw up the graphic.
Going.
Yeah. Sorry.
There we go.
Now turn on your camera. Turn on your camera.
Yeah, now focus it on you.
Yay!
This will be all edited out. Don't worry, folks. No. Follow us on Twitter at Pucknology, at Puckguy14, at AJ_Strong, at JAlexander46, at ChrisJWS, at Eric Landy, at iRead Pucknology, at SJSharkBite. For all our articles and such, log on to pucknology.net. You'll find all of us there. You can enjoy our reading. We will begin our look at 25 in teal, starting with the jersey, since that's a popular topic right now. That'll be coming out later this week. Just keep following us. We are striving to be the voice of Sharks hockey, considering nobody else does it besides maybe Canby on occasion. So with that being said, for AJ Strong, for Gentry Alexander, for Eric Landy, and our constituents Chris JWS, Ian Reed. Oh, speaking of Ian Reed, they should have an edition of Teal Tinted Glasses Hockey Podcast. I think it's going to be Thursday. They're recording tomorrow night. Be sure to check in on that. Those guys are awesome, along with the lovely and talented Rocket Backhander.
Who even shaved her legs for that.
Oh. All right. With that,
you got to get better on that audio, but
I was trying to just do it really quick, and I have the volume pitched up really high, and then
stop watching porn in there, Eric.
I'm not watching porn.
Just let it go, man.
Let it go.
There we go. All right. Until next time, we'll see you on Friday after the game. I think Chris will be back with us. Keep it real. Keep it fresh. Keep it real fresh. Go Sharks!